Hi, welcome to yet another video from Electronics. In this video we'll have a look at this multi-power supply. So for one of the project I required different voltages, so I was using this kind of module, but the problem is like number of pins are very limited, only 4 ground pins. So what I was doing is like I was chaining them, but still like after chaining them also like the number of ground pins is still 8 and the wiring was a complete mess. Plus though I don't face current issue, but still this kind of modules like good enough for like 250 milliampere or so, so you can't use it for projects with heavy power requirement. Plus my concern was more of a like number of pins available and the wiring, because like so many wirings going here and there and it was a complete mess, like couldn't understood which is 5 volt, which is like 3.3 volt. So for example for this kind of modules I was requiring like 3.3 volt, and for this kind of LCD or like for this kind of SD card reader you would require 5 volt power supply, because it has like onboard regulator. So when I try to power it with 3.3 volt, this doesn't work quite effectively. So I required like multiple power supply for my project, and wiring was a complete mess. As I was mentioning, for few more ground pins I have to connect like bulk strip and solder it like that. So these are like LM2596, so these are good for like 2 amps up to 2.5 to 3 amps. And this kind of pins are very nicely labeled: 3 volt and this is ground, 5 volt and this is ground, and this is adjustable. So like you can have 3.3 volt, you can have 5 volt, and you can have like adjust it to 4.2 volts for your battery or like GSM modules. So it does not come with the standoff, so you can purchase the standoff separately from our website. And you may want to use standoff because these are pins are not flat from the bottom, so it will be better if you use any kind of standoff, whether copper column or something. And doesn't come with this cap also, so you can power it using a DC jack, or you can power it using the screw terminal, or you can chain it by putting another module on top of this, and again like power going in one, and then the two screw terminal are connected by a wire. You can do that kind of thing. That kind of thing is like not possible because of this high heat sink in this, but here like you can put more copper columns and can put another board on top of it. But anyway, this has like so many pins, so will be suitable for most of the projects. So when you power on, there is a LED indication also. So here I am using like a 12 volt DC adapter, and you can power it with screw terminal also, but make sure you correct it using correct polarity. 90% of the complaints we get is like people are connecting any module with wrong polarity, and the other kind of problem that I have seen is like when people have battery and a module that has a battery connector, people will simply plug it in the battery without even checking the polarity. You cannot rely on the wiring colors and all those things. You cannot rely on the battery connector like being one-sided, because the wiring can be done in any way. So like this can be positive or this can be positive. You don't know really for sure. So make sure to like check the polarity first. Don't rely on the wiring colors. Don't rely on like any silk screen. Make sure to first check the polarity using a multimeter, and then only connect any battery. Or when you are using a screw terminal, make sure to check the polarity. So as you can see, this red is positive and the black is negative. So here I'm getting like 12.78 volt from my DC jack. The other issue that people normally face is let's say you have a breadboard power supply, and people will simply connect it to the breadboard and like start using it. Any power supply, you need to first check what voltage that module is giving. So so even when the power supply is defective, you lose only like $1. But when you connect it to your modules or development board, you may incur a huge loss. So do not rely on what kind of regulator is there or what is printed on the silk screen. Always first measure it using a voltmeter and then only start using it. I learned this lesson the hard way, but now I am very careful about all those things. So let's just check with the multimeter what kind of readings we are getting. So you can see we are getting like 4.2 volts, and here I am getting like 5 volts. Here I am getting like 3.3 volts approx, which is good enough. So this is a very good power supply, like where you don't require like more than 1 or 2 amps, and you require different voltages for different components. You may have a battery, or you may have a GSM module, or you may have a like a 5 volt LCD or something, or you may have like a ESP32 or kind of device which will accept 3.3 volts, or you may have like 1.8 volt sensor, so you can set it using this potentiometer to 1.8 volt. So this model actually solves a lot of wiring issues that I faced for one of my project. So this is like very reasonable price, and plus I don't need that unnecessary display because I know like this is 3.3 volt and I know this is 5 volt, and like I can set it properly, and like or like before connecting it to my module I can check the voltage and then only I will use, and like once set it will not vary until and unless you move the potentiometer. So here it says like you can accept from 7 volt to 25 volt, and on the cell screen also the marking is there, positive and ground. So this was the positive and this was the ground. So this looks beautiful, like very compact in size, solve all the power issues which I had for my project at least, and is reasonably priced also. So please like our video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.